like that, he's not of the mind that we got something to do. He's like, oh, I got to be afraid of this guy. Once I can get his eyes on me, like there, well, I was going to say if he started looking away from me, I would have created a little bit of a buzz over here until he would look back. And I'm going to back up and let him get on the box if he wants to. And he may or may not, but I'm going to give him that opportunity to make a good decision. He knows in the past, even though it's been, I mean, you guys would probably know when the last time he was in here better than me, because these are all a blur to me. I just come in and work a horse, and I don't, people ask me about memories. I don't remember anything. I'm looking at what's right now. You know what I mean? Like, I just look at what's right now, and once it's over, and like, I might be able to tell you the story, and I might not be able to, but it's only a story. I want to focus on what's real, and this is what's real, the horse that's in front of you. He's been rode a lot since he's been in here. And I'm just going to like walk back and forth a little bit. I would like to see his hip move is what I'm looking for right here. And I'm looking at his hip. Good boy. Oh, now that was just bad timing. Like the barn hummed a little bit, so that weirded him out a little bit. So we may have lost what I was setting up right there was him naturally looking at the box. I'm not really trying to push him at that box. He just ended up there, and I was going to help him through it. The barn hummed, and he left, so whatever. That's gone. And you can't get bummed when your expectations have to change. What's up, buddy? But like, this is ultimately what I wanted, is I just wanted him to latch onto me. So we got a full circle one way, intentionally focused on a soft body language. My breathing is relaxed and chill. And I need him to follow me in a full circle both directions. So there he wanted to get after a fly on the side. So I'll stop here, and if he needs to deal with his side, he can. But their attention is all I got to have. Sometimes it'll take 30 minutes or 10 days to get a horse's attention, and sometimes they just come in and go, oh, how you doing, man? Can I work with you today? This one showed up to work today. Pleasant attitude, smile on his face. What do you got to teach me, boss? Ready to learn. A good-minded horse is everything. I don't care how big they are. I don't care what they look like. I don't care about their conformation. I see all those things, and if you add those to a really good-minded horse, now you got a valuable horse. But I'll buy a good-minded horse that has a Reds conformation. He don't look great. He takes care of children. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, their mind matters. But all I needed to do is come in here and see if I can get this horse to latch onto me. And like I said, I'm doing a little bit of more walking around this time, just letting him do it again. And I'm just not really seeing that he needs me to just rush over and grab him, but I just want to see, like I say, he's been rode a lot since he's really worked on this. But he's showing me that like everything is still there. Everything that we taught him 6-8 months ago, it's all still right there. So now I got to get my gloves on. So I don't, you guys know me enough that when I got a rope in my hand, I got gloves on. If you don't feel the need to put gloves on every time you have a rope at the end of your horse, it's because you've never worked a challenging horse. That's the only reason you feel like you could just go take a horse on a rope and not put your gloves on it, because one of them has never jerked that rope through your hand to where you were like, oh, I'm really hurt now. And I could have saved that with a pair of gloves. And I don't think he's going to do anything crazy, but man, you don't see me with a rope in my hand without a pair of gloves on. What's up, buddy? Good boy. And then we're just going to go through the basics, the same stuff that you've seen me do hundreds of other times. I'm going to just start. Does he know that we need to go left quietly? I mean, really, once you've seen me do my routine, I am a one-trick pony. I come in here and do the same exact thing every time. Although some horses make me modify what the same thing is. but I check all the boxes. I do it the same way every time. I do not skip these steps when I'm checking in. Like I just saddle them and ride them plenty throughout some of the stuff. But when I'm really evaluating one, you'll watch me come in here and it'll look virtually identical. The horse will modify it some, but the way I act will always be the same. Every now and then you get an outlier where you got to change up the program to suit something that doesn't understand. But I'm not asking him for any hard work. I'm just seeing, does he understand all the stuff? And it's, like I say, it's been months since anybody's done groundwork with this horse. And he should be turning and facing me better, but there, like, he's got a few months off. I'm just finding out, does it all still matter to him? And I'm backing up here to give him space to do that. Like, my body language, taking those 3 or 4 steps back, is what drew him into square. So he stopped, but he wasn't square, but he had his eyes on me. By giving him the space, it allowed him to go, okay, I can look at you. You know what I mean? He had his eyes on me, but he couldn't get closer because I was in his bubble. So if you got a horse that does that, you back up 3 or 4 steps, almost always they're going to turn and face you. It won't happen every single time, but almost always. But that was an invitation for him to come in there. Good boy, buddy. And then now I'm going to send him off again. And when I switch his directions right here, I'm going to start asking for more. And notice that me asking for more doesn't look like much, but he really does something, because he knows I will stick up his butt if he doesn't respond. You know what I mean? Like, not being mean, but if I say, hey, let's go, and he don't want to go, I'm going to poke him and say, hey, you're not going. So he knows that when I point my finger and get big, like, it shouldn't take much out of me to tell him to move. Because, like I say, he knows I will stick this stick in him a little bit. But I'm not going to beat on him, and I'm not going to gain any pleasure from hitting him or poking him with a stick. But I will say, you better go if I'm telling you to move. And so the ones of you that have been here a lot, you know I'm just bringing him to life right now. As you start to chase a horse like this and ask him to go, adrenaline begins to flow through their veins. And if you don't teach them how to manage it, they become the horses that just pull on you and jig the whole day. So I'm pushing him around right now. And when I switch his directions again, I'm going to take a big, deep breath. And he should realize that he can just walk from that. Just me exhaling and saying, we're not going that fast right now, buddy, should change my horse. And if it doesn't, he's not watching you. That's the only answer to that. If you can't slow your horse down by exhale, and I don't care if you're in the saddle, on the ground, I don't care. And then you shut down. Within a few seconds, that horse will shut down if they're watching you. And it'll be the same if you're in the saddle. When people are being ran away with on a horse, they're not relaxed. They're tense and pulling and holding their breath, and that horse is running forward. But if they can just be like, it's so important. But is your horse watching you? And if he sees you change your breathing, he is absolutely watching you. And if he doesn't see you change your breathing, he is not. So I just run through these motions and I let the horse show me that he's paying attention to me. And even if I chase him and make him get excited and adrenaline starts to flow, when I back off, he goes, oh, okay. The horse that can't back off has just got adrenaline flowing and they're just like, oh, they just can't do it. And I'm that adrenaline junkie. That's why we go into the mountains and do the crazy steep hills, because I want that crazy, tingly, weird adrenaline feeling. But I don't need my horse to have it. He needs to be like, okay, we'll just walk down this trail, even though it's steep. We're just going to walk down a good, calm trail because I'm staying calm. But I want that feeling. That when you're like, I love adrenaline. But you have to teach a horse how to manage it. And I guess to a degree, I had to learn how to manage it. This is the safest way I know to get it. Ride a good-minded horse in a very, very challenging terrain, and your horse will stay calm and take care of you, but you get the excitement of going, oh my gosh, this is like jumping 100 feet on a dirt bike, which I've done, but not recently. But like, this is how I can safely get that like, oh my gosh, that was awesome feeling. But if you teach your horse all the steps in advance, then when you go and do the crazy stuff, they're like, I don't know, man, it seems a little weird, but I'm going to take over and use my judgment and not plummet us to our death. That's awesome when they can do that. But it all comes down to, can they watch you and stay calm? And then you stay calm, and then they realize that in a tense situation, they can stay calm. And then when you're starting to get excited about you doing the crazy thing, you have to just still, even though it's giving you that adrenaline, you got to be able to just be like, this is awesome. Can't believe my colt is doing so well. But you don't get excited about it, but it's still there, but you can't, you just got to be the calm voice of reason for them. And you can walk them off a cliff if you act like it's the thing to do. But the problem is with people is they can't do something where they might die without being afraid. And Tristan and I just talked about this the other day. Like, we live and ride these horses and use them in a way where it literally could be life and death. Like, we could go out and ride these colts on these mountainsides, and the horse could go wrong and you could get killed. And that's exciting, and I love it. Not for everybody. But that's where you just, like, with our relationship, or at least my personal relationship with these horses, is how can I go do crazy stuff and you take care of an old man? Because I still feel like I'm 16 in my mind. I know my body ain't there anymore, but I'm not going to be one of these dudes that just withers away. I want to, if something goes wrong with me, I want it to be like, holy crap, you should have saw what he was trying to get that horse to do. Not like, oh yeah, cancer took him out. Like, I hope to always be one step ahead of these horses, but I don't plan to stop doing the stuff that could kill me. Because if I can't do the stuff that could kill me, then I don't believe in my program. That's kind of how I feel about it. Like, I'm going to do this as long as I can, and if I get over my head and it costs me, there will be one unbelievable story to be told. But if you can keep your horse to where everything you do he sees, all you got to do when the crazy happens is you just act like it's no big deal, and the horses are miraculous in their abilities. They will pick up for you. Like, I tell the story every now and then, but Top Secret and I had this understanding. I didn't know anything about anything. I had like a basic knowledge of natural horsemanship, but I had no real timing, no feel. I started working Top Secret, and that horse just met me. Like, I won't even say met me halfway. He met me 80% of the way. Like, I got it even close to right. He's like, is this what you want? I'm like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. Yay. They're so excited. And then I'd teach him something else, and he was just, everything I went to teach him, he just exceeded my expectations. So there was like a couple of years there where I was actually professionally doing demonstrations where Secret was better than me. I was helping him, but he was just like, okay, we're going to do it this way, man. Like, he just always did it right. I could go out and do this stuff, and he just would always get it right. But then by seeing what him always getting it right looked like, showed me what always getting it right looked like. It gave me a new understanding of horse body language, because I saw basically what perfect looked like. He just did it. It was so unbelievably easy to teach Top Secret the things I taught him. But then the things that I taught him, I now teach to all of them, but I learned it because he accepted it. Like, if I had started teaching him to deal with the flag, and he'd have lost his mind and been striking and kicking and trying, like, if Secret would have lost his mind at the flag, I might have been like, hey, you know what? We don't need to deal with this flag, and just put it away. But because he went, oh, hey, what do you got, man? Like, he just immediately was like, what is that? Like, he took interest to it. So I started using the flag, and I thought that would be cool. And then I started cracking the whip, and I thought that would be cool. And then those were no big deal. And I'm like, man, I wonder if I could ride him and wave the flag, and ride him and carry the whip. And just everything I taught him was so easy that it just made it fun to go to the next step. But then what he taught me allows me to do this now. But yeah, for the first several years, Secret I wasn't good enough for him for sure. But boy, we look cool. I mean, like, what we did, I'm still like, oh my gosh, we're at the Kentucky Horse Park doing a horsemanship seminar. Like, I'm nobody, you know what I mean? I get an invitation like that, I'll go be Secret's plus one. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'll show you an awesome horse and I'll demonstrate him, but he's better than me. But and the other thing about it is I've never seen another horse as good as him. But to be fair, these horses don't get my undivided attention. Secret was my horse. I had 2 or 3, and they were in different stages, but he was my project. So he was awesome. It was so cool to let him teach me this. There you go. Good boy. And again, I'm just checking in with this horse. He hasn't done groundwork in a long time. Although we preach you should do it every day. But if you don't, if you're not a professional horse person, or at least you think you can deal with whatever he'll dish out. If you know you can deal with what he can dish out, then ride him with no groundwork. And when I say that, on one level, I know that this horse could buck me off. There's no doubt in my mind. If he really took a notion to buck me off, I cannot ride him. And that's the case with every horse. If any horse wants to buck you off, they can. I guarantee it. But most horses don't want to work hard enough to buck off a calm, experienced rider. It takes a lot of work for him to buck me off because I'm not just going to fall off right away. So if he starts getting weird, I can disengage his body, make it awkward for him, and basically not allow him to buck me off. Although, when I say I'm not allowing it, it's because he's just lazy and not choosing to give me the extra mile, because he absolutely could buck me off. But when I get a horse and I get to know him enough that I know that if they go berserk for their berserk, because every horse's berserk is different. Some horses really freak out, and some horses will be like, I don't like that. That's just 2 different horses. But if you know that you can handle what his worst is, then you can ride him without groundwork. And if you don't know that you can handle him at what his worst is, you better do your groundwork. But so that's where it falls for me. I have to not do groundwork every time to a perfect degree before I ride this horse, or otherwise, if I do that, he'll never really struggle, most likely, out on the trail. He'll go out there with a really good focused mind, and he'll pretty much walk through the trail, and then you don't ever get a chance to guide and instruct him from the saddle. So then later on, when it does finally go wrong and you need to instruct him from the saddle, if you haven't prepared him for it, he won't see you or hear you. Just like right now, this is all about him seeing me. Me standing here talking to you means don't move your feet and you just do your thing over there. Like, it's so important. Like, people don't realize really what I'm doing. A lot of the time that I'm talking to you, it's teaching this horse that he can just be chill over there, and that when I take my focus off of him, he's just supposed to just put his body into park and wait for me to tell him what's next, whether that's 2 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. If I want to walk down to the mailbox and talk to the mailman, I should be able to stop my horse and sit there for 15 minutes and not have him dragging me in circles or standing there pawing. And that's what I'm showing him by doing these breaks. Like, when I chill out, you just stay wherever it is I leave you until I point at you and tell you to do something again. And it gives them power because they learn that they don't have any responsibility. Like, because when horses act weird, it's because they feel like they need to do something, but they don't know what it is they're supposed to do. So if I show him that when I stay quiet, you get to be quiet, he learns to love that because he realizes that all I have to do is say, we're going to do something, and then we're going to do something. Good boy. Like, he learns to just love it when I leave him alone because he knows that in a few minutes, I'm going to pick up the stick, pick up the rope, and I'm going to give him clear instructions on what I want him to do next. Now, in this case, I'm going to say, I want you to back up. And he backed up a little, so I said, thanks, buddy. And then I say, hey, why don't you back up again? And he backed up a little, so I say, thanks, buddy. The problem is with people, when the horse starts to back up, you then tell him to back up more. So he doesn't realize that that was the answer. That little short break right there, like, so I'm going to ask him to get up. He gets up. I take the pressure off. Going to ask him to get down. If I ask him to back up 5 steps, he's not going to figure out that the answer is 1 step backwards. Just pressure. Thank you. If he learns how to do that, you can then go, thank you, ask again. Thank you, ask again. And you can back him up 12 steps. It's the same thing when you're on their back. Pressure, they give you one step, you say thank you. One step, thank you. And if they learn that every time they give you one step, you'll say thank you, they'll back up a mile as long as you say, thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. Now, if you're just going back up, back up, back up, back up, back up, there's no reason for them to back up because you're not letting off until he gets 14 steps back. He doesn't know it's 14 steps. If you reward every single step, they'll give you another. And that's the key to it. And you don't want to point your finger and your horse runs 7 steps. Like, you don't know what 7 steps is. You know what I mean? Like, you should be able to, like, if I just point my finger and start applying pressure, the steps should just start happening slowly. And he's going too slow there, so I'm going to amp up pressure. But I don't want to see him run away. I want one step, and then I can go, shut it off. You know, my finger saying stay up and my pressure, that's just keep going. When you get far enough, I'll shut it off. But he knows that when I put pressure on him, he has to move his feet to get the pressure off, whichever direction it is. So by me just, like I said, if you need to maintain the pressure, you just maintain the pressure as long as you need to. But when you're teaching a horse that doesn't understand something simple, you better say, hey, I need you to back up. Thank you, buddy. Because he backed up. Like, a lot of people wouldn't even act like that's a big deal. But that's the idea of what the backup is. If you just keep rushing him, he doesn't get to settle his mind into it. I want him to see pressure, calm pressure, means slowly move your feet backwards. And then if I, like I said, I can go pressure, thank you, pressure, thank you, pressure, and see how that was almost backing up. Like the average person, if I was in like a horse show situation and I backed my horse up like that, the judges would think it was great. He backed up calmly and straight, even though there was a slight break, everything. And then once you get him to a further degree, you could just maybe drop your eyes for the break. But you just gotta be willing to say thank you to him. And again, like I said, that's all I'm doing with this horse is playing with him enough to see where's he at. He hasn't had groundwork done in a little while. He's only been ridden. Does he get a little overwhelmed in here, or does he stay calm and relaxed? Always let him look at it if they want to. I like that he's got his head over it. I like that he's looking at me. I'm going to point my finger where we're going, bring the stick in, and calmly ask him to go forward. He moved a little, so I'm going to reward that. Going to ask him. Good boy. Good boy. Now, he didn't have to keep going, but he's not in trouble because he did. He did it nice and slow, very thoughtful. I mean, really, like he's coming through this all with flying colors. And it's all about just having this connection with your horse where they're paying attention to you all the time. And the slower you can move them, the better. So he got himself in a pickle there. Oh, good boy. Come on, and I'm just applying pressure just as I'm coming up more and more until he gives me something. Good boy. And like I would have loved it if he would have like sat there and like just straddled those barrels, but that was not him panicking. That was thoughtful all the way through. I can't be critical because he gave me a nice B- there. You know what I mean? Like I can't. But you know how many people, if they were, well, first of all, people don't have that level of detail, that they don't really expect the little, but he didn't do what I really wanted him to do. I mean, the reality is I shut down. I wanted him to stop and straddle those barrels. That tells me that he didn't see me at that point. But he still didn't freak out. So even without my guidance right there, he still did it 1 foot at a time, calm and relaxed. But it lets me know that he was not paying attention to me. But people want perfection out of them. And then they don't expect anything out of themselves, a lot of them. Yeah. People want perfection out of a horse, and then they won't pick up behind themselves. And I'm not a neat freak by any stretch. But I don't expect perfection out of a horse. His sloppiness and my sloppiness are fine. I can be as sloppy as I allow my horse to be. But I expect him to be paying attention. It's all you have. If you can't pick up a rein and bring their nose around calmly and exhale and calm them down in the middle of a hectic situation, I mean, there's nothing, like, that's all you got. All right, buddy. Let's see how he handles the flag this time. But yeah, it is so important that your horse learns to watch you, and then you learn what to do with his eyes on you. If he watches you and you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to highlight that you don't know what you're doing. And I was telling some, so I've had some people here looking at horses lately. I tell them, if you don't want to learn what it is I'm teaching here, you should not buy one of our horses. Buy a horse off the internet that somebody else has not done this kind of stuff with, and they won't be looking for you to give it to them. But if you show a horse that you will give them good, solid leadership, and then you hand them to a person that offers them none, they can't function. Or they're going to absolutely take over because they realize you are inept. So once these horses learn that you're going to provide them leadership and you don't, they can't function well because they just feel all alone. So yeah, you're better off to just buy a horse that's never been taught anything, really, like taught this type of interaction. Good boy. But yeah, one of our horses, they've been taught to be smart. They've been taught to pay attention. They've been taught what good leadership looks like. And so when it doesn't happen, they are just like, oh my goodness, I'm on my own, and they fall apart if it happens. That's why we do the partnership assurance program. We don't let that happen. Oh, good boy. So I'm just rubbing him around. He hasn't seen this flag in months. I'm just seeing, does he remember? Is he okay? Working both sides of the horse as evenly as possible. We know that there's 2 horses in every one, so if I can only see his right eye right here, he can only see me in his right eye. And then when we walk over here, we're talking to a completely different horse. Good boy. And really, he's coming through this really, really nicely today. He's not meeting me, and he looks over here, so I'll go ahead and stop it because he's kind of looking at me to take the pressure away. But yeah, he has that groundwork done in several months, or like I say, whenever you guys saw us in here last on a Saturday morning would have been the last time this horse has been in here. But yeah, we're just checking in. But yeah, when we take him on on one of the trips or whatever, not that he'll go anymore, and when we're riding him around here, he hasn't had a real good groundwork warm up now in quite a while. What's that? Yeah, so we're just, like I say, we're just checking in. Is he overwhelmed by any of it? And then if he starts showing us there's gaps in his training, we'll fill them. Yeah, we'll help him if he starts showing me there's a glitch in there. But like you guys know, like this would be the same thing that we would do the very first day we ever meet a horse. I haven't really done a whole lot differently other than I didn't run him in the very beginning because he already latched onto me. And so I'm just walking away from him, cracking the whip, making him, kind of making the environment a little uncomfortable. And the fact when he can walk with me It's him showing me he's okay, going with me into scary stuff. But like right there, how he's sticky and not moving, if he's not following me forward, I just need forward steps. If I'm walking and he's doing forward steps behind me, he's saying, all right, I can follow you. Good boy. And even though he's seen this before, I always show him what I got. And then I'm just going to start tossing it at him calmly. Feel his body all out. Looking for flinching, looking for weirdness, looking for his feet getting jumbled up, anything weird. But yeah, like I said, groundwork is so important. But once you get them to the phase that you know you can handle them, they have to learn how to become uncomfortable and manage from the saddle. But there's never a downside to warming your horse up. They will always be better. I don't care if I was riding the most gentle, broke, quiet, like even Top Secret. Before we went into a show, we warmed up. When we used to go to the Judge Trail rides, everybody else is just hanging out, laughing, having a good time. You know, they all want to do good, but they're not serious about it. And when I would go sit there, like there'd be a line of horses, 3 or 4 horses deep for the next obstacle, and everybody else is just sitting there and like not doing anything. And I just sit there on Top Secret and just back them up a step or two, side pass them over a step or two, walk them forward a step or two, side pass them over, and then give them a break. Everybody else is still talking and visiting, having fun. And, a minute later, I'd just back them up, just moving them around. And then when I got up to my obstacle where I needed to perform, everybody else's horses like been asleep. Like they were just talking and visiting. Nobody's horses were on, like tuned up and ready to go. When I got up and it was my turn to do whatever I needed to do, I had a horse that would back up, move over, like totally just like puppet master sitting up here, And because when there was a 15-minute break where everybody else just was like talking about nonsense, I say nonsense, I guess it was probably important to them, but I was there to win. If I go to a horse competition, I'm not there just to hang out. I'm going to win. But yeah, so I don't let my horse go to sleep while we're standing there waiting for our turn. But people would. They would just sit there. Horses are eating, just doing whatever they want. I kept my horse in check, in tune. We had a 3-hour horse show, and I could call on him at any minute. And the reality was, a lot of times, the obstacles that the people were asking for weren't as complicated as what I was doing with him just for the warm-up. Very rarely were the obstacles more challenging than what I teach them to do. And that's the key. You got to know what people are willing to ask of your horse, and you got to teach him to be 25% better than that so that when he gets out and gets to a competition, they don't ever pull out something that your horse is that overwhelmed by. But yeah, I always expect more out of them. Like when we built our balance beam out there, I went to a real obstacle course, like a horse obstacle course. I measured their beam. I made mine narrower. I made mine taller. I made it more challenging in every way. So if I ever show up at an obstacle course and I got to ride on their balance beam, it's going to be 30% wider than what my horses are used to. And it's going to be shorter. Like the same thing with our teeter-totter. People make their teeter-totters a little bit longer. We make ours a little bit shorter. That makes it have quicker action so that the longer it is, the slower the action is going to be. What do you think, buddy? But yeah, we make our stuff harder than what everybody else is going to ask. But then we teach our horse in a way that makes it very acceptable for him. Good boy. See how he's getting curious about it? And I'm just letting that happen. I'm not going to push on him until he stops paying attention to it, which is about right there. So I'm going to say, hey, We need to go that way. If he pokes his nose in there, I'm going to say, thank you. And then now he's not looking at it, so I'm going to say, hey, we need to go that way. I'm going to ask one step. Good boy. Now he's kind of watching me and realizing I want him to stop, but he's like, it's touching me. I can't stop. That's what that was. But he saw me, and his mind told him to stop, but his body wouldn't let it happen. Hey, no, we're going that way. And the softness there, I'm going to reward that. It doesn't really look like, we're going that way. So he's got to learn that this thing might be scary, but it doesn't move, it doesn't breathe, it doesn't do anything. I can pick up this stick and get loud or I can do something with my stick. He cannot give that piece of tarp more respect than me. But I can also not sit here and disrespect him because he might need a minute. That's where people get in trouble. The horse doesn't instantaneously do what you want him to do, and then it makes you want to rush it. Everybody's looking to rush it. As long as he'll stand there with his nose in that thing, I'm just going to kind of let him. If he looks away from it, then I'm going to say, hey, we need to go forward. And I'm going to ask for a step. Or he could poke his head through if he wants to stretch his neck out, but he's got to give me a step forward. Not that way, so we're going to get bigger pressure over here. So he's looking for any way out. Like he's arguing with somebody who's willing to argue back instead of walking through a curtain that'll just brush down his side. You know what I mean? It's like so crazy that they'll give respect to this and want to run me over. And not that that was horrible by any stretch, but it's just an example of how it is. That tarp cannot be more important than me. Pressure. I'm going to keep pressure on. There, he looked at it really good. Now he's starting to poke his nose through. He's investigating it. I'm going to let all that happen. And I'm going to go ahead and ask him to go again. And I want his feet to move. Right there. Look how he just poked his eye through there. It's funny to watch him figure things out. Come on. And I'm going to make him uncomfortable till he steps forward or pokes his nose in there. Oh, he leaned enough, so he leaned forward. Anything that brings him toward the tarp, I'm going to say, thank you, buddy. There you go. There's a step. He knows the answer to my pressure. I've just put something in his way that has freaked him out. When we were little kids, we would go through the car wash and it had something kind of like this. It like swung back and forth, and I'm talking like 1979, like years and years ago, primitive stuff. And me and my brother would call the thing that looked like this that kind of draped over your car the spaghetti monster, and my sister would just freak over the car wash every day. But we tormented her while we did it. Like we were intentionally like, oh my gosh, spaghetti monster. And she would just lose it. So this is how he sees this. It's the spaghetti monster to this horse. My sister didn't like it, neither does Journey. It's okay, buddy. I know it's just gotten a little bit different, but there he poked his head through. Come on. Come on. But that's what this is. We know it's just a tarp. To him, it's something super scary. So much so that he wants to argue against me. Come on. You got to give me something. The head drop, right there, one step. The head drop could have been a thing, but he just wasn't giving me what I wanted right there. So I'm going to give him a moment, and then I'm going to say, hey, we got to go through that tarp. More pressure when he looks away, less pressure when he goes toward it. He wants to scoot through here, so we may have to back him up a little. Pressure over here. So there's no pressure over there. So he's arguing with me, which I'm making loud noises and waving a stick around and ignoring some inanimate object that's not doing anything, but he perceives it as a big deal. I got to show him this is not a big deal. When I point my finger and tell you to go, I don't care what I put in front of you. And I'm going to press him until he goes forward. Come on, buddy. And like, look at him looking for any other possibility other than what I need him to do. And I'm not mad about it. I think it's ridiculous. I'm not mad about it. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Can't come over here. And if he gets out there too far, I'll bump his nose and say, hey, there's a little wall out there that you don't need to play with. Same deal. If he goes over there too far, I'm going to bump his nose. The answer is over there. That's what he's got to realize. And this is a good example of the two different horses because he just walked right through it the other side. Walked right through it. Little bump on the nose. If he gets too far out there, there was one step toward it. Licking and chewing is good, but like I said, I'm going to lighten up on my brakes a little bit right now for a second. You know, and this is the difference between really nitpicking a horse. This horse, if he's never done this before, then it would be unreasonable for me to be holding him to a little bit of a standard. He knows this for the most part. It's been a long time, but he knows this. He walked right through it beautifully on one side. So I'm not going to be as soft about it. I'm not going to get rough with him by any stretch. But I'm going to start asking him to make some moves. And look how he's just looking. Like, what can I do? How can I avoid what you're asking me to do? And like, I don't care if he looks at the little hole that's there for him. I mean, that's what it's there for. But I'm not going to let him crowd me. Nothing over there for you, buddy. Nothing over here for you, buddy. Come on. Oh, there he found the hole. Now I'm going to reward that because that could be the key to getting him through here. All right. Come on. Look at him squirm. What's up, buddy? So he struggled with that, so we're going to give him a break for a minute. Hey, pay attention here. He's not seeing me. There you go. Not seeing me. There you go. I have to be the answer. Good boy. But yeah, two completely different horses every time you... Hey. So he got a little bit rattled there. Didn't love that because I'm having... And how I know that is I'm having trouble keeping his focus on me now. And he just looked a little bit off on his whole demeanor, but we'll find some good way to end it without him being, uncomfortable. But yeah, whatever, like I said, whatever that looks like, when you bring them in and there again, like, there'd be no downside to bringing the horse in here and doing this for 15 minutes every single day before you ride. It'll make you safer, for sure. But if you're trying to teach a colt how to be corrected from the saddle, you got to take them out a little fresher so that when they struggle, you can help them from the saddle. But yeah, We're just kind of feeling him out. Where is he at? So here I'm gonna look at his hip, the pressure, disengage that hip a little bit. I want my horses to realize that, like, just because you're on the box doesn't mean you're gonna do the same thing every time. Sometimes you take them all the way on, sometimes it's 2 feet on, sometimes you back them off. You got to teach your horses not to have an expectation of what they're supposed to do at the box. They just got to get up there and then watch you, and you can tell them what you need them to do. See the little mouth thing that's happening right there? That's an indicator that that was tough for him. When you start seeing the contorting of the jaw, I have just like squeezed his brain and over there, and I'm giving him a spot to rest, and look what's happening. Arabians are the absolute worst for doing crazy stuff with their face. But that's a thing. And like when your horse does that kind of stuff, it tells you that that was a real challenge. Like it's a big deal. A yawn, not so much. A yawn is still an indicator that you have mentally taxed them. But when they start doing the weird jaw thing, you have really got them outside of their comfort zone for at least a moment. But the older the horse, and especially Arabians, you want to push an older Arabian into a spot he's never been, or teach him something that he struggles with, they will do crazy stuff with their faces. And I don't know what it means, but you only see that after a challenging lesson. Only. Like you'll never see them do the jaw thing that you didn't mentally put real pressure on the horse where he sort of struggled to get through it. And it didn't really look like, I'm a little surprised by like how that went, that he did that over here, because that didn't seem that traumatic or stressful over here. But by that, his reaction tells me that it was a little bit traumatic and stressful. And like, I know I was pushing on him, but I didn't high pressure. You know what I mean? I was expecting him to give me an answer that I knew that he knew, but I didn't see him to give me the... And I didn't really ask for that, but I'm going to kind of let that slide because of the stress that I showed me that he just went through. I'm not going to nitpick him. What's up, buddy? How old is Jeremy? He was born in 19, so he'd be 6. He'd be 6. I don't exactly know what day. I mean, I'm sure we do know what day, but it's April of 19. What do you think, buddy? But yeah, the weird jaw contorting, that is a thing that like it only happens when they've been stressed. And the more they've been stressed, and like I say, older horses, it's more common in than younger horses, and it's really common in Arabian horses. That Arabian horses was what is how I learned it was a thing. And to be honest, I learned it was a thing in this barn, so it's only been 10 years ago that I picked that up. I'm sure they were doing it before that, but for some reason I didn't see it for what it was. But I literally learned about that face contorting thing in this barn. Good boy, buddy. What do you think, huh? And we're just going to see if we can get him to walk through there calmly, both directions, without a lot of hesitation. And if he does, we'll be done. Come on. There you go. I got to show him that if he pays attention towards that tarp, that I'll take my pressure off. And I can give him more directions. Good boy. Like he didn't really squirm forward, but he squirmed down a little. But because his feet didn't go super fast, that's totally fine. If he does it reasonably this way, we're going to call it. Come on. We're not going that way. Not going that way. So he's got to realize that the tarp don't move. The tarp don't jump. The tarp don't have any energy. He wants to crowd me to give respect to a piece of plastic. It's unacceptable. There you go, buddy. And that's a perfect place to quit. He, like I say, he kind of squirmed a little bit, puckered down, but he didn't go fast. He did something that just a few minutes ago was very challenging for him. Good boy. Good boy. Today, but checking in, seeing where his groundwork at. And other than hanging up at the curtain, he basically was like, yeah, 6 months of not doing that, and I still know everything. And that's what you want. That's the beauty of training your horse's mind. When you train their minds, they don't forget what you taught them. When you train their bodies, they don't even really understand what's happening. It's, but when you train their mind, their body will just do what it's supposed to. All right. Am I turning him out or?